Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day with Petula Sankarsingh. I am the CEO and founder of VisionReady. Disrupt Your Day brings you the struggles, stories, and success of entrepreneurs to learn from and disrupt your day. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our podcast, Disrupt Your Day. I am your host, Petula Sankarsingh. Today, we have Prajakta, our wonderful entrepreneur who is in the world of health and yoga and just some really great stuff for us to learn from her journey as an entrepreneur, her story, and her success. She'll also share some great tips to stay healthy throughout your journey that I think is really important for us as entrepreneurs to learn and have as part of our daily routine for our health success as well. Hello and welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm fine. And thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast as a guest. It's truly my honor and my pleasure to be here to share my story with your audience.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We're honored to have you here as well. So I know you've been an entrepreneur for a while, right? For about, is it like
Close,
20?
close to 20 years, close to 20 years. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So tell us, like your start and your struggles and just your story and your path up until now.
Okay. All right. So I really have to kind of, think through and rewind my life here.
Right.
But I completed most of my education back in India. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And then after coming to United States, I took my further education in the university. I had to complete the 10-month long internship so that I could practice here in United States as a registered dietitian. And after completing all that, my professional journey really started working as a dietitian in a long-term care facility. And that was back in Minneapolis. And I did that about, I would say, 4 or 5 months, not a huge experience there, but definitely that was my first step in this field of nutrition. And then I had to leave my job because my husband and I decided to move to Phoenix, which was warmer weather, which is what
Yes.
we were looking for. So after coming to Phoenix, Arizona, I started my career here, working in the local hospital as a registered dietitian, taking care of all the inpatient people who were admitting in the hospital and looking for some dietary advice for cholesterol management and weight loss and diabetes. Those were my big group of people who were looking for some help, and definitely that was a start of my career, and I really gained a lot of good experience there. Learned a lot of different things which not necessarily were taught to me when I was back in college, because always there's a big difference between what you learn in college versus what you actually get experience, like a hands-on experience when you start to work. And I worked there total for 9 to 10 years, and then I decided when I was still working in the hospital that I should start my own practice. And the reason I started through this thought is because what I realized that I am passionate about the work that I was doing to the clients who were admitting in the hospital, but the people there, or the patients in the hospital, they were not necessarily always into the nutrition advice. And I'll tell you
Oh,
the reason for that, because
okay.
what I realized is their goal at that time was getting out of the hospital, getting discharged as quickly as possible. The people were admitting in the hospital for some serious problem, either they had to undergo surgery, or they were really sick and maybe having some lot of infection,
Yeah.
which was a priority. So talking about their dietary changes was not always on their top priority list, because they were in the pain. Their goal was to kind of, get better and recover through the intense surgery that they
Yes.
had possibly happened. So what I started to notice that even if
Mm.
I want to spend a lot of time with them, helping them out with their diet, they were not in that position to accept that advice from me in a positive way, because they
Yes.
had a lot more other things on their mind, which definitely was a priority for them at that time. And what I started to realize is I am not getting 100% satisfaction of what I do, because of the limited time that I could spend with each patient there, and two, people were not always keen on the nutritional advice
Yeah.
because their priorities were different. And that's what made me explore more into private practice. And one day I just decided, okay, here I am going to go out and start my work there. What I did is I did not have an office space at that time. I definitely got some help from some mentors, some other colleagues of mine, to
Yeah.
kind
So,
of learn more about what does the private practice look like. I started working on accepting insurances, because that
right.
was yep, the health insurances, because that was like a big thing, I thought, at that point, because people, I would get more referrals based on that. So I started that process, and I literally started my journey visiting people either in their homes, or
Yes.
if they're not comfortable, maybe at a Starbucks or somewhere, and just started my work there. And slowly, as I got into this private practice
Yeah.
area, of course, I was gaining a lot more experiences, and I was gaining credibility, building trust with people. And that's how it started to happen, that I got more and more referrals from word of mouth. I started my own office in the area close to my home, and I started meeting the physicians, talking them about what I do, collecting testimonials from my clients who I
Yeah.
had seen before, and kind of building my relationships with them. And then I got referrals from the doctors in the area, which is still kind of keep coming, and I'm really happy with that. And plus, most now that I'm in private practice for almost 10 years now, I feel that I have definitely built a credibility, built trust with people. People have started to recognize me and my business and what I do. So definitely, I am getting more and more referrals. It's mainly through word of mouth. So that's what my journey started, and I'm still continuing on my journey. And I know that
Yes.
you know that the journey is never smooth. It's not
No,
like a
it's not.
straight paved road. I wish it could have been, but there are always roller coasters, and there are challenges, and sometimes you really feel low, and you
Yeah.
really want to think twice that whether the decision you made was correct, or you should go back to what you were doing. So of course the family support is huge in that times of that periods of time. I'm so fortunate to have that family support. So when there is any down moment, I think back, and kind of have that positive mindset that, okay, I have had worse than this, but this is
Yes.
okay. This is still manageable, doable. And you just keep going forward. Even if you
Yeah.
fall, it's okay. You can still get up, move forward, take one step at a time. I am a strong believer of taking smaller steps, baby steps, kind of take that step, experience it, gain confidence, fix your mistakes if you have done any mistakes, And then once you are comfortable, you take a second step. It may take a little longer, but again, this is not a race. This is a journey, and
Exactly.
everyone's journey is
Exactly.
different. So I feel that taking smaller steps is definitely better. And I feel that you shouldn't be comparing yourself with others,
Uh,
because everyone's business is different, their goals are different, the personal goals, the business goals could be different, and they
yeah.
will keep changing. So comparing yourself with other entrepreneurs is a big mistake, is what I feel.
Yes.
You just want to look at your business, you want to set your goals, your personal goals, your business goals. And as I said, they could change every year, which is fine. Sometimes there could be
Yeah.
not so much growth, and sometimes you really take a big
Yeah.
leap in 1 year. So
Hey,
um,
but change is good, right?
it's good.
I,
Even if it's a bit uncomfortable in the beginning, it just kind of pushes you through, and then you build more confidence. It's great. You need
yeah.
change to make a progress.
Yeah, so oh my God, so this is wonderful. Your journey has seemed to be very, very enlightful. So one thing you mentioned, so your transition from India to the United States,
Right.
I often hear how difficult it is, when you get your degree and you get all your credentials in a different country, it's hard
Mhm.
to transition into the United States, practicing what you did in your country. How difficult was that for you?
Um, Here is what I would say. The practicing in this country, I wouldn't say it was easy. It was
Mhm.
little difficult, but it was doable. I mean, there were few classes or few courses which were not a part of my curriculum back in
Mhm.
India, was something I had to do.
Mhm.
Even though I had the internship done back in India,
Mhm.
when I came here, I had to gain that experience again, working in the hospitals here, working in this
Yes.
culture, which is completely different from the culture back in India. So
Right.
that was a great experience. The more challenges, what I would like to mention here.
Mhm.
Again, this was in the beginning when I
Yeah.
was still kind of learning. I was still new to the country. I was still new to the culture here. Two biggest challenges I had to face, which I have overcome 100% now. But one was learning about the culture, the food habits, even the learning about the different foods that are out here available in
Right.
the store, or what traditionally people make for Thanksgiving, or what is cooked for
Right.
holidays.
Yes.
All those things were completely different, because I come from a different country, different culture, different background. Everything was so different. So learning about that, and making multiple grocery trips.
Exactly.
Correct. Grocery trips to kind of learn more about what different products are out there, what are they made out of, what are they called.
Right.
You know,
Right. That's
I
great.
just a funny story. I was not even aware of what bacon is when I came here.
Oh my
Yes.
God,
Now,
really? Oh my God, that is funny.
Mhm. Because in India, no one eats bacon. That's like not the acceptable food in
Mhm.
our culture. So I had no idea what it is, what is it made out of, how does it look like. So just kind of learning that was
Yes.
it was good. Of course, I learned so many new things, but that used to be a little bit of a challenge when someone would say that, can I have a sausage? And I'm like, initially, okay, what is it? I need to go back and look, then I can tell you whether it's a good idea to have it or not. So that was one challenge that I would say.
Yes, yes, okay. Because in India, was your diet primarily vegetarian?
Yes, I primarily vegetarian. People do eat meat there, but again, if it's meat, it's only limited to
Like chicken
chicken
or
and fish, but
yeah.
not other, and of course eggs, but not other
Yeah.
than that. So,
Wow, that's really interesting.
mhm,
Thanks for sharing that story. That's amazing.
yeah.
So you talked about positivity and having the support of your family, right? Not everyone has that because, as you know, sometimes being an entrepreneur, you're like by yourself, right? You have ideas, you have things you want to do to grow, but you're like, who do I talk to? You know, and I
Right.
know you have that support. I have the support of my family as well, but they don't connect to entrepreneurship, right? So they're just like, "Oh, good, I wish you well." You know, you're like, so what did you do for yourself, you know, to stay positive, and what would you recommend to other entrepreneurs to, you know, because it's hard. I mean, we know it's hard. The journey is not easy, but it's a continued journey, right? But and sometimes we get knocked out and we're like, is this for us? Right? We're like, is this really, really for us? So, what do you do to stay in that headspace and that mindset of positivity and to keep moving forward?
I would say that thinking always positive, positive mindset. So just kind of, anytime you feel low or anytime you start to question yourself whether what you're doing is the right thing, what I would say that ask another question to yourself, that what else you would like to do. Now, if
Right.
I ask that
Mhm.
whether I want to be an entrepreneur or whether I want to go back and do 9 to 5 job in the hospital or in,
Right.
in any other organization, when I think about it, I would always think that, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't see myself going back to where I started. Not that
Right.
it's a bad thing or anything, but after spending so many years as an entrepreneur, kind of setting up the business, growing the business and running it,
Mhm.
kind of without having minimum issues, you can say.
Yeah, right.
That's a journey, and I don't see myself now, in that 9 to 5 position job.
Right.
I would rather be spending little extra hours, but still it gives me a little bit of freedom, little bit of flexibility,
Right.
and most importantly, I really get a satisfaction of what I am doing, because
Mhm.
when I see that the type of clients come to me, they are already motivated, they want to make a change, they know what's wrong with them, they have already identified that there is a problem
Right.
in their diet or whatever it could be, and they are ready to take the new challenge, they are ready to accept the new habits.
Mhm.
So that kind of keeps me motivated, that okay, what I'm doing is really helping others, and people
Right.
are finding relief, they are improving their health because of making changes in the diet, and definitely with my advice. So when I
Yeah.
look at those success stories,
Yes.
that helps me
Helps
stay,
you draw, yeah.
yeah, motivated
Oh my
on what I'm
God,
doing.
seems
Yeah.
amazing. So give us three tips that you would share, you know, three simple tips that you would share with an entrepreneur now. Because oftentimes I feel like a lot of people don't give themselves that time for that self-care or to make sure that they're eating healthy or eating at
Correct.
all, you know. So what three easy tips that they can include in their daily routine that you would
Okay.
suggest?
So I would always say that as far as the daily activities go, I know your profession, your business is
Yes.
definitely important for you, but more important is your health. Your
Mhm.
body is like an engine, and we are kind of dependent on our body or this engine to get things done, or be more efficient. If this body engine is not functioning correctly, we are not going to be successful. So
Yeah.
self-care is extremely important, and I feel that having a scheduled routine as much as you can. I'm not
Right.
saying that everyone is perfect, sometimes even I am not, depending on what the priority is for that day, but try to have a set schedule, try to have the meal at a certain time is
Mhm.
important, because your body also gets used to that routine. So if you
Okay.
have if you have a meal at certain time, you will notice that you have a better absorption and digestion of the
Mm.
food, which is definitely going to give more energy overall. So that's the one thing I would say.
Okay.
Number two, I would say that take time for exercise, for physical activity. If you don't want to call exercise, some people get freaked out when they hear that word exercise. Do some type of physical activity, because if we don't do any physical activity, of course, you're not going to build endurance, you're not going to improve your stamina. And definitely that's another way of relaxing yourself. I would also recommend, if possible, depending on the weather and where you live, but if you can really go out and do physical activity in nature, it could be as simple as, doing your exercise routine in the backyard. So I mean, I'm not against gym. I have a gym membership myself, but I still, kind of make sure or find time to spend time in nature, because that's a great stress reliever, especially after this pandemic. Everyone is glued on the laptop or some kind of device, because things are completely different. This is how the new normal is going to be. But in order to have a break from this blue light to your brain cells, to your eyes, it is really important to go out and go to the park, take a walk, play with your kids in the park, or go hiking or go bicycle riding. There will be times that you will not be able to do that, but at least make an attempt to do this 2 times in a week is what I would say. So that's my second.
2 to 3 times, did you say?
Going out in nature and exercising. I feel that physical activity should be done minimum 5 to 6 times in a week, minimum. But I'm saying that on top of that, if you want to kind of spend some time in nature doing your physical activity, try to do that at least 2 times in a week is what I personally feel. And number 3 is stress management. This is extremely important. Everyone is busy, everyone has challenge. It's kind of a busy life for everybody. And sometimes we forget that we are carrying stress on our mind, on our head all the time. And this ongoing stress can be a toxin to your body. And it can, exactly. And it can definitely create havoc in your entire health. So stress management is absolutely important. It needs to be a part of your daily routine every day. Just like you take shower and you brush your teeth and you do the typical things that we all do throughout the day, you need to find time, just 5 minutes. If you have a little bit extra, maybe 10 minutes, but try to do some type of stress management practices. It could be deep belly breathing, it could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be journaling. We all have too many thoughts on our head all the time. Sometimes putting those on the paper, you will feel better. You will feel that
powerful.
Exactly. After stress management, you will notice that when you practice that every day, you are able to connect your mind and body together for the most part. And that connection between your body and mind is extremely important for you to have a balanced decisions, whether it's a personal decisions that you're taking for your kids or for your business, whatever that is, because under stress, the chances are you're not going to take right decisions. It's going to be very hasty. Maybe you're not even making right food choices. Exactly. Emotional.
Yes. So, I don't think a lot of people, individuals, realize how stress really affects you in your day-to-day life. So thank you so much for sharing those tips. That's amazing. I know I'm learning from it. I try to do things every day, but we all get better with time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what we like to do is celebrate people's successes and wins. And success again can be different for everyone. So at this stage in your journey with being an entrepreneur, running your own practice, how would you define success?
I would say that, of course, I mean, in my business, I would say that the success, what I would relate to is just recently I have successfully built and launched a online program. It's done in smaller groups. And my niche, my expertise is the gut health, nutrition and gut health. So the program is definitely for people who are struggling with gut problems like, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, gas. There are more than one, but these are the common ones I'm talking about. And this program will help you resolve your symptoms and help you reconnect with your gut, so you can live a symptom-free life. So that's the goal of the program. This is a very comprehensive program, which not just focus on nutrition, but it focuses on other pieces of this whole gut health puzzle, like physical activity, stress management, how you can reduce your exposure to environmental toxins. So it covers a whole bunch of things, and I am confident that this program is going to help people relieve their symptoms, and so that they can live a symptom-free, stress-free life. And I already have few people who are going through my program, and so far their success is really good. I'm really happy when I see that myself, that I have put together something that's really helping people who are really struggling and suffering, and they are in pain.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That is definitely something to celebrate. So I'd like to close off the podcast with a toast in celebration of your success and your recently launched program. So I like to do that. First, I want to introduce a great varietal to your personality, to your business, and this is just something I thought that was fitting for you. It's not really about the alcohol; it's about the right. It's about the journey. It's about the journey, right? Of how a grape's made, and the time, the patience, and everything that goes into that. And we as entrepreneurs, we have similar journeys, right? In building and planting the seeds and knowing our core message, just like that same process. On top of that, I'm actually certified as a sommelier myself in wine, so I like to just do that as part of it. So for you, I chose the Petit Verdot, which is an intriguing flavors of herbal and floral notes of violet, lilac, lavender, and sage.
Oh, perfect.
Right. You seek to make the world a better place with people around you. You thrive with positivity, and you promote excellence. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My pleasure.
Let me grab my glass, if you could grab yours. And cheers to you again. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast, and to your continued success. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, great. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and listening to Disrupt Your Day. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Make sure and subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, sign up for our e-newsletter. Link in description. Remember, success is like a hangover.